There's a kind of pain that no one else can see. Every day you wake up, you do what's expected. Maybe you even smile. But inside, deep down, something is starting to fall apart. You're breaking, quietly, and no one sees it. And if you've ever wondered, why would God let me fall apart like this? Alone. You're not the only one. I've asked that too. Not once. Not in a moment of crisis, but many times over years. We don't always talk about it, but I think a lot of people carry this question inside. If God is real, if He cares, then why is He so silent when it hurts the most? I've been sitting with that question for a long time. And maybe what I've been learning, slowly, painfully, might be worth sharing. Sometimes the hardest part of suffering isn't the pain. It's the silence that follows. You pray, but nothing happens. You beg for a sign, but nothing happens. You pray in silence, and silence is all you get. It starts to feel like maybe you're doing something wrong, like maybe you're invisible, or worse, forgotten. But maybe silence isn't absence. Maybe hidden doesn't mean abandoned. There's a quote by the French writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry that says, "What is essential is invisible to the eye." And maybe that's where God does His deepest work, in the invisible, in the hidden, in the places no one sees, not even you. We live in a world that wants everything loud and fast. Progress, visibility, constant motion. But God's pace? It's different. It's slower, quieter, opposite to the world. And sometimes, when everything feels like it's falling apart, maybe it's not punishment. Maybe it's preparation. A seed has to break in the darkness before it can ever grow. The roots form underground, hidden. There's pressure and silence and waiting, long before there's life. And maybe you're in that place right now, not forgotten, just underground, still breaking, still growing, still being formed into something the surface can't yet see. Even in Scripture, this pattern shows up over and over again. David, before he became king, was just a forgotten shepherd, then a fugitive, hiding in caves, questioning everything. Moses spent decades in the wilderness, alone, in exile, before the burning bush ever spoke. And even Jesus, the Son of God, went into the desert by himself, to fast, to wrestle, to prepare. The silence didn't mean failure, it meant formation. But that doesn't make it easy. Silence can feel like rejection, and isolation can feel like punishment. But lately, I've been thinking, what if silence from God isn't neglect? What if it's actually trust? You don't give silence to a child who isn't ready. You give it to a soldier in training, to someone who's already been given something, and now needs to learn how to carry it. Maybe God isn't punishing you with distance. Maybe He's letting your roots grow deep enough to hold the weight of what's coming next. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes that says, "To everything there is a season, a time to break down and a time to build up." We like the idea of seasons when they come with flowers, or fresh starts, or success. But what about the seasons that don't come with answers? What about the ones that leave us exposed, with nothing to hold on to? There's a kind of winter the soul goes through that isn't cold in the way people understand. It's cold in a different way. Quiet, disorienting, lonely. It makes you question everything. Your worth, your faith, your direction. Sometimes even your sanity. I've been through those seasons. Maybe you have too. The ones where everyone else seems to be moving forward, posting wins, talking about breakthroughs, and you're just trying to keep your head above water. You look around, and everything seems fine on the outside. But inside, it feels like something's missing. And the worst part is, you can't even explain what that something is. It's not always pain. Sometimes it's just emptiness, a dull pain you carry through your days. And here's the part no one talks about. That kind of emptiness can follow you even when you're doing everything right. You can pray, you can serve, you can show up for everyone around you, and still feel miles away from peace. But maybe, just maybe, that feeling isn't proof that you're far from God. Maybe it's proof that you're getting closer. Because when everything else is stripped away, when all the distractions fall silent, what's left is something real. There's a passage from the poet David White that says, "The soul would rather fail at its own life than succeed at someone else's." And I believe that, because maybe that's what this suffering is. Maybe it's your soul resisting a version of life that doesn't belong to you, one that looks good from the outside, but doesn't fit the truth of who you are or what you're here to do. And if that's true, then the silence isn't punishment. It's redirection. It's God, or something deep and eternal, saying, "Come back," not to the world's version of success, but to something honest, something true. What if you're not being broken down to be destroyed, but to be built up differently? We don't like talking about this. We want answers. We want blessings. We want peace now. But the truth is, every person I've ever admired, the strong ones, the wise ones, the ones whose lives feel anchored, they were all shaped in seasons where God felt far away. They didn't get there through comfort. They got there through being emptied. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe you're not failing. Maybe you're being emptied of everything that was never meant to stay. The expectations that weren't yours, the plans that weren't aligned, the pieces of yourself that were built on fear or pride or performance. And it hurts. Of course it hurts. But maybe it's making space for something real. Fyodor Dostoevsky once wrote, "The darker the night, the brighter the stars. The deeper the grief, the closer is God." But what if? Sometimes he's silent because he wants us to start listening, not for answers, but ourselves. When everything around you feels like it's crumbling and God is quiet, maybe that's the invitation, to finally stop looking for quick relief and start listening to what the silence is trying to teach you. I'm not saying that makes it easy. I'm just saying, maybe you're not alone. Maybe you're not forgotten. Maybe, even if it doesn't feel like it, this is sacred ground. I once heard someone say, "The teacher is always silent during the test," and whether or not that's how God works, I know one thing. Sometimes, the breaking leads to something deeper than understanding. It leads to transformation. And when the time is right, what was hidden will be revealed. What was silent will start to make sense. Not all at once, but enough. If you're in that quiet place right now, where you're doing everything you can just to hold on, please hear this. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not abandoned. You are being shaped. You are not invisible. You are being trusted with something eternal. And no, I don't have all the answers, but I believe this much. God's silence doesn't mean he's gone. It might just mean he's working in ways you can't see yet. If this spoke to you, let it sit with you a while. You don't need to rush out of this moment, and you don't need to have it all figured out. But if your soul is whispering, there has to be more than this. I think you're already on your way home.